Unscripted, unfiltered, unafraid. Welcome to the Macworld Podcast. My name is Michael Simon, and I am joined by my colleague, Jason Cross.
Good morning.
And our producer, Roman Loyola.
Ahoy there.
This is episode number 989. And today is going to be basically part 3 of our WWDC show. Or shows, preview, whatever. No, post-view. It's not a preview. Anyway, the first week we talked about iOS and macOS. Then we talked about Apple Watch last week, if you heard the show. And today is going to be all about Siri and Apple Intelligence. I'll admit I have not installed it on any of my devices because I'm just terrible at getting that stuff done. But Jason has and Roman has, and we're going to talk to them about good stuff, bad stuff, any surprises, hopes, dreams, whatever else comes up. And then we have This Week in Apple History. And we will close, as always, with our comment corner. Speaking of comments, you can contact us through Blue Sky, Facebook, Threads. Search for Macworld, look for the blue mouse logo. Send an email to podcast@macworld.com. Send us an email personally. Comment under a post. Comment under a video. Send us your thoughts, and we will talk about them on a future show. So today's all about Siri. But before we get into that, I actually have a rare correction for last week's show. We were listening back, and I was writing stuff, and I noticed. So sorry, Jason. This is going to call you out a little bit, but
oh, totally, yeah.
We were talking about watchOS 27, and he was talking about how he installed Siri on his phone, and he installed Siri or watchOS 27 on his watch, and how the two things weren't like in congruence, where things that his phone could do, his watch couldn't, namely adding like extra time to a timer. I think that's what it was that you were talking about.
Yeah, that was one of the examples. We also said, hey, it says Siri is going to be like the center icon of the new little launcher hex thing, and it's not on mine.
Right. So we had a whole thing about that, and it turns out the reason why it's not is because Siri isn't active yet on the watchOS 27 beta. There's a little footnote at the very bottom of Apple's watchOS 27 page that says Siri AI will be available for developer testing in a future watchOS 27 beta.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm just a big dummy. I've been using it, just for simple things like, starting a timer and setting off a watch or something, and not really just paying attention to the fact that the little Siri bubble was the old colorful one and not the new clear one. Not going like, duh, this isn't the new Siri. I completely
it's spaced. Like a 1-inch screen you got there, so I don't blame you for not noticing that.
Still, like there's supposed to be a Siri app, and it looks different. Like I just totally. Well, I was a complete idiot about it. I mean, it didn't really dawn on me that they would release watchOS 27, but not with the new Siri. But of course, that's exactly what they did. For testing. It'll be there by public beta, I'm sure. Yeah,
I would assume so. It's weird that it's not. It's the only OS. Well, obviously, tvOS doesn't have it because it doesn't have it. But iOS, macOS, iPadOS has it, and it's interesting to me. I wish I could get some insight into what they're doing with watchOS. We already had a whole show on this. You can go to last week, but the Siri AI watchOS 27 is only coming to the models that support Siri AI, which cut off a bunch of earlier models. And it's strange to me because there's other features and enhancements and design improvements that the older watches aren't going to get. And with iOS, they cut it off. Like, all right, these models are getting Siri and these models are getting iOS 27 with all the other stuff, but they're not doing that with Apple Watch. It's weird.
Yeah. It may, as we speculated before, it may just have to do with not just Siri, but things like some of the new other features and stuff like that. They're just requiring more RAM than the S8 has. But yeah, the second developer beta just dropped yesterday for everything but Apple Watch. I noticed.
Oh, it's not out at all.
No, it's Apple Watch is still on beta 1.
Okay,
so
that's interesting.
Yeah, it was weird. So my guess is like maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're trying to put Siri AI on the beta 2 here, and they're fixing there's a last thing they got to fix, and it's going to drop today or tomorrow or something. As we record this on Tuesday, the 23rd,
Yep.
So that I noticed that, and I thought that was weird. And I'm wondering if that's related to this whole thing where Siri's not on watchOS 27 beta yet. The new Siri, it's old Siri still. So,
yeah, that makes sense. Kind of. As far as we know, Siri AI isn't guaranteed to be part of watchOS or not watch any OS 27.0. Like Apple hasn't committed to Siri coming out with the first launch in September. They keep saying that it's available later in the year. So that could be 27.0, but it also might be 27.1.
Yeah, but I will say two things. One is they never say what's coming in the launch, right? Like they don't later this year is just because they don't put a release date on the 27 updates. As far as Apple's official thing goes, it's not coming out in September. We didn't say it's coming out in September. Where'd you hear September? Right. So, but they're not, if anything, they've gone the other way with this, and they're not showing anything at WWDC or talking about anything that does come in a later update. They're only talking about things that come at launch now. And it's in good enough shape. It'll have a beta tag on it, just like they did with the old Siri improvements or the original Apple Intelligence stuff. It'll have some beta tag on it. It's only going to be in the US at first, and only in English. And then all those things will come later. So yeah, I'd be shocked if they released the OS 27 updates without Siri AI in it. Plus, I think it's got hooks throughout the OS. I don't think they can easily rip it out.
Yeah, I agree. It's just so that all over their websites, iOS, macOS, iPadOS, there's a little footnote that says Siri AI will be available in beta later this year and requires an Apple Intelligence enabled device set to a supported language, blah, blah, blah. It just seems odd to me that they wouldn't say Siri AI will be available in beta in iOS 27.
Right.
Like other things say that. So I just think that they're kind of couching it a little bit. I mean, yeah, I think you're right. Based on everything I've read and based on what you wrote, it is pretty good already. And they have June, July, August, 3 months two and a half months, whatever, to get it even better. So it would be surprising, but I wouldn't be totally shocked if iOS 27 arrives and then Siri is in iOS 27.1.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. I would be a little shocked about that, but I would leave the door open for that possibility. If anything, I think we're going to have some weirdnesses around the wait list. Yeah, there was for the beta. There was a wait list. You just like way back with Apple Intelligence. You say, "Yeah, turn it on," and then you wait a bit to get access. And I don't know how they're going to probably just watch how much usage hits all their cloud servers and all their Google Cloud servers and stuff like that, and go, okay. They make sure they don't overrun the servers. They're going to be really cautious about it. It's going to take some time. And then next thing it'll be, we'll have the internet will be full of people who say, I installed it 2 weeks ago and I still don't have access,
Yeah. Roman, you had a couple of days where you didn't get Siri AI. It was like 2 days, I think, right?
It was a little more than 24 hours.
Oh, okay. One day.
So, yeah. So one day. I could have asked Apple PR to give me access earlier, but I kind of wanted to see how long it would take as a quote-unquote
peasant
user. Your words, not mine. Because if the case was that this is what they're going to do when the official release comes out, I wanted to get an idea of how long that wait would be. Some people were saying minutes.
Yeah, Jason, you got yours pretty quick.
A couple hours.
Yeah.
I installed the beta basically within minutes of when it dropped, and I got Siri access like that evening. So like it was, 4 or 5 hours maybe. The weird thing was indexing. Holy cow. Like Like we're used to indexing taking some time when you get a new OS update, but they've totally revamped how your content indexing works. Not only to have much better search, but to fuel Siri's all their on-device stuff that we'll talk about. And they tell you that it's indexing. Like you used to have to go hunt for it in the battery stats or something like that. You know, it would tell you it's indexing and that might impact battery. But it's always been that like, hey, if I just plug in my phone and just leave it off over there, you know, just unattended for a few hours, it'll be done. It's been for a lot of people, it was days. I think mine finally stopped showing the indexing message after like day 3 or 4. Oh, wow. It was crazy. I don't know, a brand new like high end phone. Yep. You know, I mean, I've got some content, but some people have a lot more than I do. So yeah, I think people are going to be like, why is my phone? It'll be a week and people, why does my phone still say indexing? It's because it's going to index for like a week.
So a couple of things about that. For if you don't know what that means, indexing means that the system is basically looking at all the things you have on your phone and just creating like a map for it so it can easily access that stuff and find it when you search for it. 2, Jason, this isn't something that's going to happen every time you update your phone, right? Like
it typically doesn't.
Yeah.
It's usually like it'll re-index when you update to iOS 20 from 25 to 26. You know, there'll be maybe a new index because they're and that most of that has to do with it looking at all your photos and having a better idea of the things in your photos. Because you can search your photos by the content. You can just go, you know, mountain.
That actually works really well now.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, they're surprisingly well. Yeah. So it usually happens then, and then like 26.1, 26.2, all those things, you don't get a new, it doesn't re-index stuff usually. But yeah, so this is not only is it a re-indexing, but everybody has reported that it takes a lot longer. And in some cases, people are posting like it's day 5 and it's still indexing, you know, there's some wonky stuff you can do. You can plug it into your Mac. And say like trust this Mac and stuff, and then you can open up the command like the control window and search through log records and see how far it is, you know, how long it is. There's some craziness, but it's not like it helps it go any faster.
So the reason why it's doing all this indexing is because I assume Spotlight Search and Siri needs to access everything on your phone extraordinarily as quickly as it possibly can.
Yes, and more thoroughly, and just kind of, I think it's building a better sort of relational map between your content stuff, and that's also that Siri can know you personally, which the new Siri AI, which I have to admit, works surprisingly well. It is really cool.
Yeah. So you wrote an article last week. Just your first impressions. You used it for a couple of days. Roman, you can put this in the elusive show notes that I don't know where they are.
They're on the site where the podcast lives.
I'm joking. I'm being obtuse for no reason. And you did a pretty good smattering of questions. Things that like people will probably use Siri. My biggest problem with Siri, and Roman, you actually wrote this in your article on the Mac, I never know what to ask it. Like I never know where to start because I'm like, well, I'm not used to doing this.
Right.
But so the thing about Siri now is I was trying to explain this to my parents last week. Like you can ask it anything, not just like, what's the weather outside? Like, think of it as if you had a personal assistant that was following you all the time. And you can say, oh, you know, when was that? My son sent me a text last week and it was about something. And can you find it? And it'll do that. And you went through a bunch of scenarios and, you know, as you just said, it works surprisingly well. I was impressed with your write-up of how good it is already.
Yeah. And it's funny because there'll be just as many weird, just little disappointing things, and they're typical LLM disappointments. Like when you start asking it about like general, not stuff about you and your texts or something, but general world knowledge-y things or something like that. And you, and it just kind of like gets a wrong answer, or like, there's all the things that people do to trip it up. How many R's are in strawberry and stuff like that. And
I never understood that one. Do you know why LLMs get that wrong consistently?
Yes.
Particularly that word. Okay, good.
Yeah. I'll try and make it really, really short so that we don't get totally sidetracked. I've talked before about how
keep track of how bogged down we're getting here.
I've talked before about how LLMs operate on tokens, and a token, it's instead of letters of the alphabet, it's tokens. They compress words into common strings of 2, 3, sometimes 4 characters that commonly appear together, and that's a token, right? Yep. Well, so strawberry is a long enough word that it's made out of 3 or 4 tokens.
Okay.
And LLMs don't really have any memory. So when you ask how many R's are in strawberry, it's not literally going down the word, counting them. It gets messed up, breaking up like the separate tokens of the word.
Okay.
Right. The reason they work now is because so many people have asked this so much, and it's been written articles and stuff like that, that now it's in the training data.
That specific word. Yeah.
That specific word and a few others, but then other ones still trip them up. And so if it's a long enough word that it's several tokens, LLMs don't really count across tokens and stuff like that. The tokens are all operated on at once. They're all a big relational map. So it doesn't know. It's not counting. It doesn't know and it also doesn't know what words mean. So I gave an example of that. One of the things people have been asking is the car wash problem. You go, the car wash is 100 yards away. Should I walk there or drive? Right. And obviously, like LLMs were all telling people to walk because it's only 100 yards, right? Yeah, don't take your car. And of course you need your car if you're going to wash it. Siri nailed that one and tells you, it says, of course you're going to need your car if you wash it. But again, that stuff is in the training data now, and it's messed up other kind of obvious things like that logic trap issues where no person would get it wrong.
The one that confused me or surprised me that I got wrong was you asked how many days of the week have the letter D in it, which is, it's not that's not a question that you would normally ask someone, but it seems odd that it wouldn't be able to parse that. But it got it wrong. Yeah, again, that comes into the they're all made out of separate tokens, and they can't count, and they get confused between them. And it's weird because a lot of LLMs will when you take a closer look at it. So you say it'll give you an answer like 4, and you go like they all. And then I asked Siri, "Are you sure?" And it goes, "Oh, you're right. Every day of the week has the word day in it. So they all have the letter D, and it's very confounding that it can get it right when you say are you sure? So the fact that it got it wrong confidently the first time but it is capable of getting it right. That's just such a common problem with these LLMs and everything. So it got it wrong the first time and said there's only one, which is Wednesday, because it was looking at the first part of the word and not day, right? There's a D in Wednesday if you take day off.
No, you're thinking about it of a person, like a person. It was looking at all the days of the week, broken up into the tokens that the LLM's designed to use. So broken up into the chunks of several letters that they're designed to use. And it processes them all in parallel, all at once with a probability map. So they're not looking at letters and counting them like a person would. It's a big probability map operating on pieces of words together all at the same time. And it just, if that question's not in the training data, it messes it up. And people have got different answers. Sometimes it says 4. Sometimes it says 1.
Well,
sometimes it says.
So do you have any idea why when you asked it, you literally said, I'm looking at it right now, you said, are you sure? That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, do you have any understanding as to why it was able to look closer at it? Does it change the way it approaches those blocks?
Yeah, I think most of the LLMs are sort of trained that when you ask it to confirm itself or something like that, that it how can I change it? It takes the answer it was going to give you, and then it confirms it by going backwards, like by saying,
right.
by checking its own work instead of just like running its processing and saying 1, it then says, it goes backward and goes like, is there one day of the week with a D in it? And it goes through each one and stuff. And that burns a lot of tokens and processing time. And that's why they don't do it the first time around.
Does it take longer when you ask it to check its work?
Not as far as a human would notice. It probably takes 100 million more cycles, which is, or whatever,
right.
which happens in a fraction of a second on the server. But and it's developer beta 1, and there's been other weirdnesses where it'll think for a minute and make the little sound and then say something went wrong or not even just disappear. But that's beta stuff. What I was really impressed about is the stuff you could ask it that makes it an assistant for your phone. Not how many days of the week has D in it, but for example, I had been planning to do something out with my wife for her birthday and texting back and forth with a couple of her friends, kicking around some ideas, times, all that stuff. I was able to ask it. I was able to literally say, what do I have planned for my wife for her birthday? And not say who my wife was, when her birthday was, any of that stuff. And it went through my texts and everything, and it just spat out, you're planning to go here at this time and do this with these friends and everything. And I was like, holy crap, that is actually correct.
Yeah.
And that is right. And it, it knew through the context of all the things in my contacts and my messages and all the other stuff, like, where we're going, where we landed on after all the, back and forth and corrections and the time and who my wife is and all, what her birthday is and all that other kind of stuff. So that was like super impressive. I was just like, that is exactly what I want to know.
Yeah. Do you have any indication of how it knew who in that whole conversation, which your wife was, just based on how you talk to her or the things you say to her? Or do you have something listed somewhere where it says like wife or spouse?
I actually think probably spouse or wife is actually listed in my contact for her, but it has gotten other things based on context. Like it knows, I don't have niece for my niece, but it just knows from my communications with my sister, her mother, like who my niece is, like who her daughter is. Like it has gotten those right before. It did a thing where, my wife, if I go to get lunch or something, I get sandwiches and I ask my wife to text me what she wants. I asked it, what did my wife get last time we had sandwiches? And I didn't say where we went to get sandwiches or anything like that. And it kind of got it right. And it kind of got it wrong in an interesting way. The last time I went, got sandwiches and she texted me her order, there was no leading question from me in a text. Hey, I'm going to here. What do you want? Or anything like that. It was just a sandwich order. It was just like, get me this with this. So it didn't list that, but it listed the previous time when I went to Panera, like, because there was context. There was like, hey, what's your Panera order or whatever. And it did. It told me what the thing was. So it's not psychic, but it's like this weird memory of everything you've done on your phone that you can just access freely.
And as you use it, it might be able to contextualize sandwich ingredients without a leading question and say, this is what she ate a week ago.
Yeah. I mean, that particular text message, it wasn't even clear it was an order. It could have been a grocery list. It was just like, veggie on white with this, like it out of nowhere, just out of the blue. So I wouldn't expect it to kind of get that. I wouldn't really expect it to get that.
Yep.
I'm really curious how this will go as they get further. It does weird things. I have, since I wrote that article, done things like I asked Siri with the voice, bring up my last conversation with you. And it said, your last conversation was this. And it was my last text message to someone. And I said, no. my last conversation with you.
Okay. Yeah,
and it said, I can't do that. I don't have our last conversation. I'm like, yeah, you do. You have a whole Siri app. And it says, I don't have an app that keeps a list of our conversations. I'm like, yeah, you do. That's one of your main features. There's a whole Siri app with like all your past conversations. It just didn't seem aware. Again, early beta software, maybe that changes. But if the index that we talked about building from your texts and your contacts and your search histories and your location histories and all that stuff, if that includes your Siri history in the Siri app, then that's really fascinating because that makes Siri AI have a memory.
Kinda, yeah.
Which
I mean, it should, right? It should include that stuff.
Well, like weirdly, LLMs don't have a memory.
Yeah.
If you're going back and forth with ChatGPT 10 times in a conversation, your 11th question, what it's really doing is it's sending all 10 previous questions and answers to the LLM and your 11th so that that's how it gets context. Right. It doesn't actually remember anything. It's just the conversation gets bigger and bigger and it processes a bigger and bigger conversation all the time. And of course, Siri works that way too. That's the way all these things work. Mm-hmm. But if it's sort of index on your phone, your on-device index captures your history of talking to the LLM, then you kind of have that, right?
Do other LLMs do that, like ChatGPT? I'm sure that you can access your own history through the app.
Yeah, they do, but like there's no way they don't build an on-device index distilling that down for you. Okay. And they obviously aren't going to not upload, it's on the server, but like reprocess literally your entire history of all your conversations every time you ask it anything, right? That would be insane. Also, the context windows aren't that big and blah, 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 right? There are things like when you ask
Siri, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, go.
Could Siri index itself nightly and have access to that?
I mean, so once your index is built, it's added to every time you send a text, take a picture, do any of those things. Like your search index is constantly being updated. And it's quick to do little updates as you go. Yeah. So I think, I don't know if the Siri app's contents are meant to be indexed.
Right.
But I think it would be amazing if they were. They are meant to be ephemeral. You can tell them, keep these forever, keep them for a month, keep them for a week. I think it goes down to a day. I think you can make it delete them sooner if you want. Those are synced securely across the cloud and across devices. So I can open my Mac, I can open the Siri app and see all the stuff I ever asked on my iPhone. So, all those things exist and happen. But if you tell ChatGPT or Gemini or something like that, hey, remember that I have a 2015 Toyota Camry, right? Because you're going to later be asking it stuff like, where can I find seat covers for my car? And then it'll know what car you have. What it does when you tell it things like that is it basically, just like you know how AIs make summaries of large blocks of text. It's doing that. It makes a summary. It keeps it in the background. And that summary of all the things you've told it to remember gets essentially uploaded and reprocessed every time you talk to the AI for anything ever. And then it just decides what's relevant. And you can see this happen because it'll bring up things that aren't relevant as though you included it. You'll ask it where to go on vacation and it'll say, you should go here. It's a great drive in your 2015 Toyota Camry or something. And you're like, what are you talking about? Why are you bringing that up? It's because it re-uploads all. They don't have a memory. They basically have a hidden summary that they re-upload all the time for everything. And having this index on your phone that Siri first has access to on your device kind of gives it a memory in a way that other LLMs don't have. That's, I find really fascinating. I think it's it's really Apple's big advantage over many of these other things is the way that it can get at your data like that.
Yeah, I mean that's really why we've been waiting so long. It's because Apple wanted to keep this stuff private and encrypted and all on your phone and all on your device while still making it work like ChatGPT, but having it be seamless. And it took forever to get that. And it seems as though like the wait was worth it, because it, like, the things that I read that you did and the screenshots, like, it's incredible how knowledgeable it is of things that it never knew before.
Yeah. Joanna Stern did a little video about Siri AI and stuff, and she had a really great example where she was visiting some place or something like that. And she said, what are a couple souvenirs I could get that my kids would like? And it actually gave recommendations about things their kids were into because of photos she had with their kids and texts about it and stuff like that. And she's like, recommended one, get like a reptile thing or something like that. And she's like, that's actually pretty spot on. That's exactly what my kid's into. So yeah, that's the kind of thing that other LLMs just because our lives are on our phones. Right. Like, that's just like such an advantage. It's such a cool trick.
And it's kind of the thing that, like, the good AI, we'll call it, that, all the people who are against image generation, and, I get it 100%. Oh, yeah. But this is the kind of thing, like, nobody has a personal assistant unless you're a super high-end celebrity. So, like, this is actually something that's not, for one, it's not like replacing like an actual job. And two, it's making your iPhone so much more useful as a tool. There's so many times when I'll be talking to my wife or whoever, and I'll be like, oh, wait, hold on, let me go find that email. And it'll take me 25 minutes to search my email to find. And if I can ask Siri that, and it could tell me within, 30 seconds or a minute or whatever, and pull everything up and give it that, that's invaluable stuff.
I have a note in my notes app for all of these things. Like, I bake bread. So when I try and make different bread recipes and stuff, I take all these notes in there about, like, because I sometimes have to adjust the amount of flour and stuff to fit my pans or whatever. So I can just kind of take notes. And I said, just to test it out, I said, Siri, look at my notes for my basic white bread recipe and give it to me in a recipe format. And it did it. It just grabbed all my notes in there and it reformatted it like a standard recipe with the ingredients and amounts and then like steps of instructions like you would see in a recipe book. And I was like, well, that's amazing. Like, that's like anything can just search the web for a recipe. This searched my notes and gave me a recipe based on them.
Can you go even further and just be like cooking and say, oh, I forgot, how much flour do I need for this sourdough recipe? Like, would it be able to parse all that?
Yeah, I think it would. Like, I really do. Yeah. So, or I could go through that recipe and say, convert all the amounts to metric, or something. Right. It would just dump it all out. The other thing that I thought was really incredible is how I haven't done a lot of testing with visual intelligence, but the testing I've done, it's a lot better. And especially like the check splitting thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was cool.
So you can point your thing at a check, as long as it's itemized. Yep. And if you want to split the check, it gives you the little bubble down at the bottom. You tap and it says split the thing. But it wants to use Apple Cash for that. It hops over to Wallet. You have to first invite somebody to split the bill with you because it's got to, ask them for money or pay them money or whatever. And then you choose which people had which items. And it's neat, but
there's work involved. Yeah.
And who uses Apple Cash? It's
I use it with my son, but that's about it.
Like, people use Venmo like this or PayPal. Like, this is not like, and everyone's going to use Apple Cash. But I figured, hey, the roots of this is being able to parse this receipt. And my wife and I split grocery bills all the time, but we cut things out. She doesn't want to pay for anything that's meat. I don't want to pay for beauty products and stuff like that.
That's pretty funny.
So, well, yeah. But I just pointed it at our Safeway receipt and I said, take off this, that, and the other thing. Take off this thing and that thing and that thing, and then take the rest, add it up, and divide by 2. And it just thought for a second, and it did it. Yep. And I was like, wait, is this right? And I'm going through and I'm checking and math and everything. And I'm like, it totally nailed it. It totally, absolutely nailed this. The other day, she comes back with a Target receipt, and Target had a separate little category for health and beauty. Mm-hmm. Right. And then all this other stuff. And I said, take off all the health and beauty stuff and then divide the rest by 2. And it just absolutely did it. And I was like, well, I got to see if this is right. And it was right. And I was like, this is saving me so much time from sitting there with my stupid calculator, trying to figure out how to split grocery bills or shopping bills or whatever and stuff like that. That's the kind of thing that's just like absolutely useful. And the idea that this is private, that even if it's going to use some cloud processing, that they delete everything the second it was done, and that individual researchers can confirm that that's true. Right. And everything, like, because I don't want Google or anybody else like hanging on to my anonymized receipt info that's got the end of my credit card information and everything else on it, and the location address and everything, and just holding on to that for training data for the rest of their lives. Like, no, thank you.
The check thing that you were talking about the other day, these are things that you're doing now just as a user. Like, this isn't, you weren't doing that as a journalist. So you find yourself turning to Siri AI just because.
Yeah, a lot of it's just sort of curiosity at this point. Yeah, like, we'll just be doing something in our lives, and I'll go like, oh, I wonder if Siri can do that. And I'll just try it, or I'll ask it a question I would not have asked Siri before, just to see if it gives me information. And it usually does. And it's usually more thorough than the old. I mean, half the time we talk to Siri, we're asking it, is it okay if our dog eats this? Because we want to give it some of our food. Can a dog have grapes? No, a dog cannot have grapes.
Is that true?
Yeah. Do not feed your dog grapes, or especially raisins. But yeah.
I don't know how dogs survive, because they eat everything.
Most of the things that are toxic to dogs is toxic in the way in that it gives them upset stomach. Maybe they'll throw up. Right. Like, it's not going to like kill them. A few things are really bad though. Anyway, a lot of times it's stuff like that. A lot of times it's like really basic stuff like that. But every now and then I'm asking it something that it just kind of wants to, like I did with the sandwich thing. My wife is like, I'll have what I had last time. I'm like, oh, I wonder if Siri knows what you had last time. And I asked it, and it got it wrong because last time I had a completely contextless message that just said like veggie with this, like, and you couldn't even recognize it was a sandwich if you didn't know. But it did get the previous time right.
Right.
It did
like
get it
if
right
you said
for the previous.
So after that answer, I wonder if you said, like, no, that's not what I remember. Can you look again? I wonder if it would find
I don't know.
A more recent one, because it would know to go chronologically the other direction. And maybe, I don't know. I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, I had asked for the last one, and and I just think that there was just no way to know that was a sandwich order. Like I said, what was her last sandwich order? And I just think the text she sent me was just so unknowable as a sandwich order, because there was no previous text, or she didn't say, I'll have a sandwich that is this or anything. Like, there was just blah. So I think that was why. It would be neat if it somehow had that much information. If it could put together pieces like, hey, there was this text, and after that, his location became this sandwich shop.
Right,
so maybe that text was about the sandwich shop.
Right. I wonder if it'll get there. You know.
Yeah. That would be a future. That would be some sort of future thing. That was really amazing. The other thing I thought was cool is that the image generator is way better than it used to be. It still looks really AI-y. Like, even when you do a realistic image, which you can now do, it looks kind of like last year's kind of image gen stuff from Google and Gemini and stuff like that. But that's a million times better than the garbage that it was before. Yeah. Image Playground was terrible. So so
there's one other thing on this. So this weather one that you I just want to talk about how it can access other apps, because it can't do third-party apps just yet. Like, it's not really working with that because the developers haven't done it yet. Yeah. So just talk a bit about, you asked it a specific question. What time will the temperature drop below 80 degrees, which seems to be a fairly easy thing.
Yes.
For an LLM to access and understand.
Yeah, it really had a hard time kind of doing that. It certainly, first it just gave me info about the highs and lows.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, you understand I'm talking about the weather, but that's not what I was asking. And then if I asked it again, I managed to get it to give me an answer. And it gave me a little text table of things, but that was clearly not from the weather app because it differed from what the weather app was saying. But it was like a couple of degrees different and off by a couple hours. And I was like, all right, so where are you getting this? Like, are you pulling this from the web? And then
it looks like the weather app in your image, but you're saying it's not.
Well, that was when it gave me the wrong answer. That was when it gave me the answer about highs and lows. I don't think I have it in that image in the article.
Oh, I see.
But then after that, I managed to say no, at what time today will the temperature be 80 degrees or something? And then it said something like, it'll be 80 degrees around 9 o'clock. And it wrote a little text table of things. And it's one that was wrong. Two, that was not what the weather app was saying. But it was just a little off. And I'm like, okay, are you getting this from the web? Where on the web? What's happening? Usually, if you ask it for general information, it gives you a tiny little text link that tells you where it got the information. Or it says out loud, and this didn't say anything. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know. And I don't know why you couldn't answer my question the first time. It's one of those things I asked old Siri all the time, just like adding time to a timer that it just doesn't seem to kind of understand.
And hopefully as this beta process goes on, developers will add these. Well, that's an Apple app, so there's really no excuse for that. But as these APIs get added, all the stuff Jason was just talking about, now you'll be able to use, I don't know, Fantastical and Spotify and all the other apps that you use will get just as much relevant Siri information to work with.
I really understand. I really don't know. I need to find out more about this. If all of these the frameworks and hooks and stuff are just about doing actions within apps, or if they let Siri access and index the data within those apps, and or if it can be both. And there's, because right now there's sort of checkboxes in the settings that says allow Siri to access this app, but it's usually not about we're building the search index of all the info in this app. It's usually something simpler. So I don't know how deep that goes.
Right.
It would be awesome if you use some third-party notes app or something like that.
Yeah.
I how many times a day would I use Siri if it could index Slack? Oh my God.
Right. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It'd be the greatest, especially if it could associate those Slack people with text messages and contacts and stuff like that, it does the other apps. So. But if it can't index, if it can only just sort of do actions in Slack, it's fine that it could, send a message in Slack, but I want it to know I want it to index my Slack history and use it.
Like what's that story Jason's working on and when's he writing it, or when's he going to file it or whatever. Yeah. That'd be amazing.
Or even just be able to say hey, did they, did somebody finish this thing, because our Slack has an automated, when somebody turns something in, so just to be able to ask that in natural language instead of looking through and opening Slack and scrolling through.
Yeah, that would save me a ton of time going to the Macworld channel, looking to see the last 12 messages that I missed while I was doing something else. Yeah. That's cool.
Yep.
Well, maybe.
That would be cool. I hope that's the way that stuff will work.
Yeah, I mean, that might not be immediate, but maybe over the course of the next 12 months and maybe iOS 28, and this stuff's going to obviously get better. I mean, that's the whole point of LLMs, is that they rapidly improve. We'll see.
Our friend Jason Snell made a good point in an article he wrote that I very much agree with, where he said, what he really hopes is that Apple does not just consider this Siri AI stuff and Apple Intelligence with its normal yearly cadence.
Right.
Because the AI stuff is moving way faster than that.
Right.
Like he really hopes there's like a 27.3 or a 27.4 where the model improves again a lot, not just adding languages, but like it's a better model, because that's how fast this stuff is moving. If you update every year, you're 10 months out of date.
Right. Do you have any idea like what Gemini model it's using? It's probably not the latest one, but
I don't think it corresponds necessarily to.
Yeah, it's probably true.
Because it's not just
we
a Gemini model with a Siri sticker on it.
We already bored everyone with the Gemini stuff a couple of weeks ago. But it's using Gemini, but it's not using Gemini. It's all Apple framework. I mean, based on the stuff that Apple publishes, they're doing this stuff year round.
And it's a different knowledge
they're always
base.
releasing.
Right? Yeah.
They're
that's
always
true.
releasing
They're working on
updates
stuff.
and things. And so
all the time. But how often is the model that people have access to going to actually be like a new version of a model? Because ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and all those other guys, I mean, those things are getting minor new versions every couple of months and major new versions 2 or 3 times a year. And that is not Apple's normal mode of operation. And for this AI stuff, it kind of needs to be. So I'm really curious about that.
I mean, we've been yelling for years that Apple needs to update its apps independent of the operating system, and it still doesn't do that. So we'll see.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Roman, we're running out of time, and I don't want to give you like 3 seconds to talk, but do you have anything to add about your experiences on the Mac? I guess my main question would be, do you feel as a longtime Mac user that you could incorporate Siri AI into your workflow? Because it's easy on the phone. It's tougher on like a laptop.
So when I finally got access to Siri AI, I launched it and I was kind of scrambling like, I want it, because I got it like in the afternoonish and I wanted to write something quickly. So what I wrote is like a very quick 30 minutes of my 30-minute experience with it. It's not as deep as Jason's. But I just wanted to get some first impressions out there. And I didn't know what to do because I'm so used to using my computer a certain way. And I have been using chatbots, but I've been using them in a different. I've essentially been using them as kind of like more extensive web search, so to speak.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, if I'm watching, I'll watch like Veritasium, for example, which is this scientific YouTube show. And if they'll often say something that I have no clue what they're talking about. And so I'll go to the chat bot and say, explain to me this.
Okay.
And I'll use it that way. That's kind of the way I use chatbots, as more extensive secondary research to what I'm doing. So I was kind of perplexed as to how to use it when I launched it. So yeah, I think it is something I'll have to get used to. But as Jason pointed out, the power is in more of like your personal data. One of the things I've been meaning to do is I have this trip planned in August and have it kind of like compile that data and put it all together so I can have it in one spot and look at it. Because right now it's in calendar, it's in several different emails, it's in text that my wife has been sending me because she's planning the trip. I haven't had a chance to do that yet because I've given up the Neo that Siri AI is to our PC World folks so they can shoot a video with it. But I plan to do that.
That's the kind of thing I think you'd be really impressed if you just asked Siri, hey, compile an itinerary of my trip to, I don't know where you're going, Disneyland. Compile an itinerary of my trip to Disneyland next month, including all my confirmation numbers and times and everything. Right. You would want to double check, but I think you'd be surprised at like what it dumped out and how useful that is.
Yeah, I think that's where the real power is. I kind of tried to do that a little bit in my first look, but it was really basic. The one flaw that I did find is that so I have like a lot of people shared calendars and things like that, and the people who I share with aren't as complete in terms of filling out the information.
Yep.
So if there's holes in the information, Siri's going to see those holes, and then they're not going to be able to fill it for you. So,
right.
There might be a quick jump to conclusion that Siri's not doing the job properly, but it can't do the job if the data's not there. And I think people have to remember that and keep that in perspective. So it has to start. It has to have a good base of data to start with, and if it's not there, it's not going to be able to do that for you. So.
It can do neat stuff like if you have, let's say, a flight on your calendar, and you want to add the confirmation number to your calendar, and then confirmation number is in your email. You could say, add the confirmation number for my flight on Thursday to the calendar, and it will find that flight in your email, find its confirmation number, and add it to the calendar. Like it'll do that for you, and that's like a bunch of steps. That's like you said, Mike, that's kind of like this annoying, like search, find, copy, jump to another app like experience. So that kind of thing works. That totally works right now. It's really crazy.
I want to be able to do maybe I could do it now. I never really felt like I'm always downloading stuff, and then I'll get distracted and I'll forget where they are, and I'll have to go to my recent items. If can I just say like, hey, Siri, can you find the last 3 photos that I downloaded on my Mac, open them up in Photoshop, and let me edit them? Like, it could do that, right?
I don't think it has the hooks to like open them in Photoshop now. I think that's the kind of thing where like Adobe has to push an update that supports the hooks for the whatever. I think that requires like Adobe Developer Support to do that. The other things, I think that's exactly what it can do. Like the last 3 photos I downloaded, it might not know downloaded unless you downloaded them from Siri, unless Firefox and Chrome start supporting the right things. And, all this stuff requires a certain amount of developer support.
Sure. But that's the kind of stuff that I would, or like take the last 5 articles off my desktop that I edited and put them in my done folder, like things like that. Like,
Siri on the Mac has an opportunity that is Google's doing something with Google Books, which are just more expensive Chromebooks, that I think is amazing, and that they probably got some kind of dumb patent on or something, that because I want Apple to do this. They have an AI cursor. You can press a mode and make the cursor into an AI cursor, and it will just contextually do an AI thing depending on what you're pointing at, right? Like you point it at an image, you get AI image tools. Point it at a word, you get AI writing tools, or description of this, or AI search, various things. Yep. Point it at an address, you get your AI mapping things, right? That's a brilliant way to work. If I could hold down, but if I could hold down the command key and get a special Siri cursor, and it would contextually do Siri AI stuff based on what I'm pointing it at. People already understand that. People already understand right-clicking and context menus and stuff like that. So the idea that like, I've made my cursor is doing the AI stuff on this. Like that's I feel like that's super intuitive. And that's a great way to sort of discover how to do AI stuff on your Mac, but not have it be in your way if you don't care. Like, if I don't care, it's not going to, just don't invoke the Siri cursor. Don't press the button. Right. Sure. God, I wish they would do that.
I could see them adding that in macOS 28. Sure.
Man, I want Siri cursor on my Mac so bad.
Yeah. I could totally see them doing that. We'll have a lot more to say about Siri AI over the next couple of months and all the updates that follow. If you have any questions specifically for Jason or Roman who are using it, let us know. Because
especially specific stuff you want us to try if you're not running the beta or whatever, that we can test out.
I'll set that a note on social media. It would be cool to like do a whole show where we just try requests that readers
live
send
live
us.
And whatever. Not even just start asking it live on.
So send us stuff that you want us to if you don't have the beta, you don't want to install the beta, we understand. Let us know, because that'll be fun. This Week in Apple History is up next. Roman, on to you.
So this week in Apple history, on June 22nd, 2020, Apple held its keynote for WWDC. That WWDC is notable because it was during the COVID pandemic, and so there was no in-person WWDC. There was no in-person conference.
Yeah, it was the first virtual keynote, which we thought was temporary, but it was not.
No. But what was notable is that during that keynote, Apple announced that it was going to do a 2-year transition to Apple Silicon for the Mac. So that it was going to drop Intel processors and it was going to start doing its own chips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every new Mac would come with Apple Silicon within 2 years.
Yeah.
Did they hit that? I forget if there was one model that was a little behind that.
The Mac Pro was the last one, and that arrived at WWDC 2 years later. I mean, they did hit it. The Mac Pro was kind of lame, but they did get it.
And it shipped in the fall, which is I think what it was is it was a little more than 2 years after the announcement, but the first Apple Silicon shipped that fall with M1, and it was within 2 years of that, right?
Yes.
I think the Mac Pro was announced at the M2 Ultra was announced at WWDC. Maybe it was. Maybe you're right, Jason.
Robin, but it's still 2 years from.
I'm going to do your job and find out when the Mac Pro with Apple Silicon shipped.
It was. I think you're right. It was within 2 years of when the M1 shipped, which was that fall.
Yeah.
And that's not support, but I think that we wanted to bring that up today because the notable thing is that this year is the first time the new operating systems do not support Intel chips. This is macOS 27 is Apple Silicon only. It doesn't mean they're dropping support for Intel chips. They'll get bug fix and security updates.
Right. For at least a year, probably more.
For at least a year, and most Mac apps, not Apple's new apps because they come as part of the operating system, but like most new Mac apps will be universal binaries probably for a while. There's probably not a lot of Mac apps that are just going to go Apple Silicon only, but the writing is on the wall. But it's exactly in the time frame that they all promised. You know, they warned us. This is going to happen this fast.
By this point, I mean, 6 years later, I mean, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I have an answer.
Oh, good.
M2 Ultra came out June 5th, 2023. So took 3 years to complete the transition.
Okay.
So they were up by
2.5, right?
About 30%. No. Well, it was announced in June.
Right.
Of 2020.
But the first, what I'm saying, if you want to go, the M1 came out in, what was it, October or
November,
something?
October. Yeah, November.
Yep. So from M1 to no more Intel chips was 2.5 years or something like that.
Yeah. I remember
impressive.
So after they announced the transition, they sent people like these kits, and it was like, I think it was like an A12Z or something that they used so people could get.
Exactly what it was. Yep.
Yeah, and everyone was like, oh, like this isn't that fast. And then like the M1 came out, and everyone was like, holy crap, like this is so fast. When we got the actual chip, 3-4 months later, 5 months later.
Like A12Z wasn't bad.
It was good.
They stuffed the A12Z in a Mac Mini and they said, here, start building your apps. Right. And people were
and
like,
it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the M1, I remember your guys' reviews of it. You were just basically like, holy God. Like it is so much faster than it was.
Yeah, for the power envelope it operates in, for like it was MacBook Air, like it was compared to the Intel chips in a MacBook Air, you were just like, this is game over.
Right. And they didn't even do anything. They just basically shoved it into the existing models. Yeah. Just to basically say, here, this is how fast it's going to be.
Yeah, there were no changes. The keyboard was the same. The shape of the M2 generation, they changed the design. So the design didn't even change. It was just like, here's the Mac Mini and the MacBook Air that we have. You just gutted it, stuck Apple Silicon in there. And it was way better. The other crazy part was the battery life. Like it wasn't just faster. It was just like, they didn't change anything about the laptop.
Like 20 hours.
Screen and everything in the battery life is literally just twice as long.
Yeah.
It's like, it's faster and the battery life is twice as long.
Tim Cook stepping down a couple months and, he gets credit for Apple Watch and AirPods. No one really thinks about, like, when he took over, Apple Silicon was, iPhone and nothing really. Now it's everything. Yeah. And now it powers everything that they do. And it kind of is like the engine that runs all of this stuff. And that's all, thanks to his, I don't know if it was his vision, but he certainly guided it along. So, kudos to him.
Honestly, when you change like a chip architecture, right, like that, and you've got all of this software that people have invested in that needs to run, that's really tough. Yeah, and they did an okay job when they went from PowerPC to Intel, but it was a little rocky, and there weren't a tenth as many customers. Now there are 1 billion customers, and this has been like absolutely magical. Yeah. Like, it's been insane how they kind of got off Intel's x86 architecture and onto an ARM architecture, and it's been fine.
Right. No,
like
right.
For so many customers, like that is like the software teams deserve massive amounts of credit for managing all of this over the years, because it's just been really impressive.
I mean, every year it's like 1 billion devices get updated, and we complain about corner radiuses. Like, everything works really well.
Yeah, I mean, there's bugs, but like, somebody, I think was it Steven Sinofsky from Microsoft, who was just like, at the scale they're operating, the amount of bugs they have it's insanely low. Like, nobody's on their level.
Right.
It's just that when you have like 0.01% of people is still 10 million people, that you're going to hear about it.
Sure. And those are the loudest, But
right. Yeah. And nobody hops on to Reddit to say like, everything's running great. Like, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Comment Corner. Our first email, we kind of answered it during the discussion about Siri AI, but John S. via email asks, do you have any information on how much Siri AI will be able to use other third-party apps and data? I see a lot of value in a personal assistant scenario with Siri AI, but it needs not to be limited to just Apple apps. Also, do you think the privacy aspects will in some case limit the Siri AI capabilities?
Yeah, short answer, yes with a but. Long answer, no with an if.
Right.
Or whatever that is.
Yeah, as far as we don't know to the degree to which they'll be able to access data in other apps. We do need to find out more. And of course, it's up to the app developers to update. But to answer the thing about privacy, I don't think privacy is really impacting how well it runs. I think it's making it much more difficult for Apple to train the next great thing. Right. That's the tricky part, is they're not scooping up all the data that you have and using it to train their models, which would be a huge advantage if they did it, but they don't want to compromise your privacy that way. So.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Like, if you don't use Apple Mail, and a lot of people don't, how much access does Siri have? Like Gmail, that's the if even Gmail that isn't within the Apple app, I'm curious to see how much it can access.
What I do, and it's specifically for this reason, is I have my Google account added to Apple Mail. Right. But I never use Apple Mail. I have all the notifications turned off, and it's not even on my home screen. So it is getting my mail, but I just use the Gmail app. And I don't even get notifications. So it's as if I don't have an Apple Mail app, but it is getting there, and it's getting indexed and stuff. I am really curious that, like you said, like, if I don't add that, what happens? What do I get?
I mean, I'm sure they're thinking, if not have thought of already, and we'll have a solution for that, because that would greatly decrease Siri's utility if it can only access first-party apps like that, in that way. Like, we know it's going to work with third-party apps, but the indexing and the data and being able to read everything.
Sean H. via email wanted to throw in his recommendations for an Apple Watch for me.
Oh, nice.
Because we talked about the Apple Watch in the last show. He said, my Apple Watch recommendation for Roman would absolutely be the SE3 Apple Watch. It will pair nicely with the other items in your bedside drawer, really tie the junk together. And then he adds, don't let this...
Wait, so he's not recommending the SE?
Yeah. And then he adds, don't let these co-hosts bully you into buying another Apple Watch. You had one, it didn't fit your lifestyle or routine, and that's okay, Roman. So.
No, it totally is. Hey, listen, I'm showing my wrist. I forget to wear my Apple Watch like 3 times a week. So your life is perfectly fine with that one.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny that Roman always says he might buy one and then never does.
Well, the thing is, so Jason wrote about it this morning. He wrote about a renewed Apple Watch Ultra 2, and I was like, oh, that's a nice price.
It's like $300 or so, a little over $300. It's
on Amazon.
It's Amazon, and you see there's a lot of caveats there. But if you don't want to spend $800, they're on sale for $650. But even that's pricey. But $300 Ultra 2, you still get watchOS 27.
Yeah. So,
but I totally get it. These things are expensive. Like, oh, it's only $299. That's like that's $300. Like, that's not exactly throwaway money,
Right. So, had I seen this on Sunday on Father's Day, I would have been, oh, that's a nice present for myself. But now that Father's Day is gone and come and gone, I'm like, yeah, I'm tempted, but. Our final email comes from Evan R., who writes, I keep seeing the iOS 27 apps all having landscape now. I feel like this, what we all think, might be for the upcoming folding phone, but I also feel like it's more for the fabled iPod, HomePod with a screen. I imagine that will have the same aspect ratio.
Yeah, that's the guess, is that like the HomePad or whatever they call it, and then the folding phone, the fact that almost every Apple app now has a landscape view again after getting rid of them 10 years ago.
Does it, Jason, you can just turn your phone and it just does it like it's no.
Yeah, for most of them, some things like Apple Music and podcasts and stuff, most of the app only has the vertical view. Just the now playing screen has a horizontal view. I think that's temporary. I think they're going to, almost everything. You just turn your phone. I did a little video on it. There's a little video on our social video shorts channels where I just showed turning several apps, and even the, what do you call it? The TV remote, has, and utility things like the Apple Watch app, like has a landscape view. So
but the home screen doesn't, because there was a time,
does not.
Like the iPhone 7 Plus era, I forget when it was, where you could use your phone landscape completely, and then they just took it away.
Yep, that's not interesting. That is not back yet.
Yeah, we'll be talking about the folding phone. I don't know about next week, but plenty.
Yeah, as we get closer to September, when we get close to what we expect them to do. Yeah.
So any questions you have about folding stuff, send them over, because we'll be offering our thoughts. There's surprisingly a lot of information out there already about it. There's not going to be a ton of surprises, but there's still a lot of. It's probably the most interesting. All right, forget it. I'm getting off on a tangent. We'll talk about it at a future show. Yeah.
I have an answer to something from before about the Siri AI stuff. They do have a thing in the new Siri AI called App Entity, which are ways that developers can, like, so app intents is actions Siri could perform within your app, play music or whatever. App Entity is data in your app that you want Siri to have access to.
Okay.
And Spotlight search, right?
Oh, there you go.
But you have to update your app. You have to define these app entities. They are, you have to name them and define what they are. Are these strings, or are these, what kind of property is it? Is it a string? Is it a double integer? Is it a Boolean yes or no thing? Whatever, right? So it's not, I don't know if it's going to necessarily be appropriate for the kind of thing like all my Slack messages, or if it's just for things like I have a recipe app and they're gonna, and you can you put all your data types for like a recipe or something. But there is something they're building in there to let Siri get at data in your app. If you build your app to define, here's what data I want to be available to Siri and what it is. And so it's going to be a bunch of app updates that need to happen. I'm really curious what app updates we're going to see this fall when OS 27's launch and it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, developers are going to want to get on board with this on day one because everyone's going to be trying. It's just the main thing.
Yeah, that's why they do this at WWDC,
like 150
right?
updates. Yeah, right. Yeah. It'll be like 100 updates, app updates on September 19th or whatever date is. All right. Jerome, are we done?
Yes, so that does it for Comment Corner.
And that does it for this episode of the Macworld Podcast, episode number 980. Come on. See, I told you I didn't do the second half of my notes. It's I had 87. It's not even one off. I'm two off.
I don't mean to laugh, but it's fine.
No, it's fine. Everyone can laugh at me, please. I invited on myself. It's episode 989, and unless Roman left in the bloopers, we're only 11 episodes away. It's top 10 or not top 10. The 10. Oh, what am I saying? 10 more starting next week until we get to 1,000. Yes. Thank you, Jason, for all of your Siri AI insights.
Thank you.
And thank you, Roman, for smaller Siri AI insights.
That's rude. Oh, my God.
Well, your head got cut off. If you're watching the video, Roman just did a thingy where something showed up.
He did the laser show. He did the horns.
Like his head's like floating.
Oh, that's cool.
Really interesting. Anyway, and thank you to audience for tuning in and watching. You can subscribe to the Macworld Podcast in the podcast app on Spotify, YouTube, at the Macworld Podcast channel, or through any other podcast app. Comments or questions? Contact us to Blue Sky, Facebook's threads. Comment under a post, comment under a video. Send us an email at macworld.podcast, podcast@macworld.com. Send us a personal email. Just get in touch with us somehow. Send us your Siri AI, like things that you want us to do with it, because that would be a fun show to do sometime between now and September.
Yeah.
And you can join us in the next episode of the Macworld Podcast where we talk about everything. We should talk about the latest. I haven't done this stupid outro in so long, and I still can't get it right. Join us in the next episode of the Macworld Podcast as we talk about the latest in the world of Apple. See you next time.